Hey folks, thanks for showing up. Michael Patton here, the Camaro Theologian, and I just want to tell you, I'm really excited that you're watching these. It's great. It excites me because I love to teach. It gives me another avenue. So I thank you so much for watching them, and subscribe. You can just push that little button, and I guess it'll tell you every time I post a new video. But anyway, so the question here is, this is one of in this series, questions I hope nobody asks. And the question is, why are we held guilty for the sin of another? This is a huge question. It's a huge question. It's a question that we've got to think about. We've got to wrestle with, because I promise you, other people who are not Christians or do not hold this view are wrestling with it and finding it wanting. What are they wrestling with? They're wrestling with the idea that we are born sinners, that we are born guilty, that we are born with the Adam's imputed sin, that we have, before we've ever even committed a sin, we're held guilty. You say, well, wait a minute, Michael, that's just crazy. Well, I mean, read Romans chapter 5. Romans chapter 5, I think it starts in verse 12, and it says, by one man's sin entered into the world, and death through sin. And then it goes on and explains the transaction, how that was made, that through one man, the world became guilty, then through another man, the world, Christ, the other man, was made whole. Christ is the second Adam. So you've got an imputed guilt. We're held guilty. Now, not everybody holds to imputed sin. Not everybody thinks we're held guilty for another man's sin. As a matter of fact, this is something that is being challenged quite a bit, even in conservative evangelical circles, Protestant circles. The more, kind of progressives are rejecting it. Eastern Orthodox reject it outright. This is one major difference between Protestant evangelicals and Catholics and Eastern Orthodox. Eastern Orthodox do not believe that we're born guilty. They believe that we become guilty through a commission of sin, and that we are born, yes, with a sin nature, inherited sin, but we are not born with imputed sin. And I've talked to Roman or Eastern Orthodox before, and that's the main thing they'll bring up. They bring up another thing, substitutionary atonement, but they bring this up and say, how can you believe that you're born guilty? Like a little baby that is born before they've even committed any sins. If that baby dies, you say that baby is deserving of hell. Yes, I do. And let me explain. He is deserving of hell is the most gracious act that God has done, and it is the first act in redemptive history. Imputation is an act. Giving us the sin of another man is an act of redeeming, saving us. You say, how in the world is that the case, Michael? That doesn't make any sense. Well, think of it this way, okay? And this is just a theory, okay? I mean, I think it's really solid, and I think it's sound, and I do hold to it, but just listen to my theory here. As St. Thomas Aquinas, I'm jumping here. St. Thomas Aquinas, a theologian of the 12th century, he was a great theologian, but he spoke about everything. You get Summa Theologica, huge, multi-volume. I can't believe he wrote so much. But he answered just about every question you could think of, and that's where we get the idea during his time, and especially because of him, the scholastics is what they're called. But the saying, people debate how many angels can dance on the head of a pin. That's kind of where it comes from, because St. Thomas Aquinas talked about everything. Now, there's one thing he talked about, and you're going to think this is irrelevant to the topic, but just hear me out. He talked about, why doesn't God save the angels? Why isn't there a redemption applied or provided for them? And his answer was this: because angels are not a species, they are created individually. In other words, they don't procreate. There's not really, we call them angels, but there's not a species called angel. They had to all be created individually. Okay, so there's no relationship. There's no head of all the angels that started the angelic race. It's not a race. And so therefore, what St. Thomas Aquinas said, and I think he's right, he said Christ would have to die or become each individual angel and die for that angel, become the nature of that angel. And so he'd have to do it however many times, the multitude of multitudes of times. So that's why he's not saved. Now, that's interesting. We're going to set that aside, but pull a little bit over here because it's really important. The reason why he could save us, the reason why he can become the second Adam and die for us, is precisely because he imputed the sins of Adam, the sin of Adam, to us. If he did not, spiritually speaking, if we did not, and he said, listen, I'm just going to let you guys have your own chance. Each individual will have his own chance, just like Adam. And if you sin, then I have to become that individual angel, because spiritually speaking, there's no relationship to Adam. There's no spiritual race. And think about this. If that would have happened, all the billions of people throughout all of his existence, and they all failed, which would have happened. Everybody would have failed. And then Christ could not die for them because there is not a human race, spiritually speaking. But since we are connected to Adam, since there is an imputation of sin, now Christ can die for the entire human race. Now Christ can represent the entire human race as the second Adam. So, why are we held guilty for the sin of another? Because God is absolutely gracious. Isn't that crazy? That's it. That's it. I really think that's the case. I think I'm right here. God is gracious, and he graciously threw down the gavel. And I picture this, it wasn't an easy thing, and however the transaction was made, but he threw down the gavel and said the entire human race is guilty. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, subscribe right down here. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think. You can go over to my Facebook page and look up Camaro Theologian on Facebook. I don't know how it is. Maybe I'll put the little thing right here. Do you see it? All right. If you do, I did good. But you can go to the Facebook page and leave questions, comments, whatever. I'm going to post the videos there as well. Just see how that goes. But I'm enjoying doing these videos. And until next time.